think we're back. I'm not sure whether that was the actual internet connection going down or just my Wi-Fi, because the dongle had fallen off my desk and was kind of stuck down behind everything. But I think we're back now, so that's the main thing. Yep. Even worse, I'm about to run out of tea.
Don't look at me. I'm not the tea person anymore.
Are you not?
No.
But I've got no tea.
I'm deaf now.
Right, what was I doing? Oh yeah, this. Right, so that bit's fine, that bit's fine. So it's the bit in the middle that's sticking out. Oh, and that as well. So that can go away. I'm assuming that should be the same piece. Yeah, that's definitely the same piece. Yeah, I couldn't stop streaming after only half an hour. That's just not right. Okay, I think the D deck one looks all right already. Yep, E deck one looks all right. F deck's got some bits sticking through. Need to join up these weld lines. Top's airtight, so that's good. Okay, so that bit needs to go, and that bit needs to go. Nice and simple. It's not even connected to anything. Make this piece unique, then I can just add a cut down there, although the fact they don't quite line up is mildly annoying. We just intersect this with geometry, that should do it. I reckon. Although Does that actually need to come down that far? It's better. Trying to work out why there's a gap there. Shouldn't be a gap there. Let's get the top level on. I know why. It's because we have that slight overhang there, so that geometry needs to go all the way up into there. So we need to chop that bit off and chop that bit off and then do a smaller version of this piece. Which means we can get rid of that one because it's in the way. And that. So basically, piece by piece, we're forming that lift shaft that goes all the way down. At some point, I'll also cut some actual lift hardware into this as well. So we'll have some magnetic rails running up the sides, and maybe a ladder going up the back. Or maybe there down the side. There shouldn't be any point where you'll be able to access the lift shaft. Maybe. Let's have a look. So that piece and that piece need to be unique. And then knowing my luck, they're not mirrored. Not along the edge. That's what we get. Actually, I think I'll cut it out from this side just to stop the geometry protruding. That's better. Much neater that way. Yeah, true, Anasi. We'll have to see how much room there is, because the lift is very, very snug. It fits that shaft like edge to edge practically. So if we had maybe a ceiling hatch that you could get out of in the lift, that would be good. Yeah, but we'll have to see what we can do with that. It's still a tech demo, technically, Sluggish Gaming, although obviously we're building the full game, and we're just releasing the game, as it's in development. So with every release, it's more and more towards being a full game. Yeah, Floristic. This is generally used for architectural designs. SketchUp is very much architectural software, and I started off doing ArchViz work, so that's why I started off with SketchUp. Blender's much better if you want to do sort of organic modeling, although SketchUp can do it with the right plugins. What's going on with this one? Okay, so this piece of geometry is basically missing all of the wall pieces, so they need adding. I think I'll copy basically everything that's in this one. down to that one. Right. Yeah, that'll definitely be the case, Tri-Blade. So the goal there is to have each crew member on the ship have their own crew quarters, their own schedule, their own likes, dislikes, and to be very much, be a real crew member aboard the ship. I want it to be the case where you could just pick a random crew member and then just follow them around their entire day. Watch them go to the bridge, watch them do their shift, watch them go and socialize, even to the point, they'll go into the bathroom when they need to. So you could definitely creep on NPCs. Be a crazy stalker. Yeah, sure, Retio Callum. So the idea is you'll need to take a shuttle down to planetary surfaces. Because of the way the game is built, planetary surfaces cannot be loaded in real time with the main ship because we're moving space around the ship interior. So the ship interior of the main big ship is static in the world and space moves around it. But that also means that planets are moving around the ship rather than the ship moving around the planet through space. So if you think about what a planetary surface entails with grass, rocks, trees and plants and rivers and things, there's a lot of objects there, and you can't move them in real time in the same way that you could, say, a small spaceship. So what we have to do is we have to transition the player from one static environment to another static environment. And the way we're doing that is via shuttles. So you'll have free flight with the shuttle out of the ship and through space and down towards the planet. When you reach a certain altitude, there will be a brief cutscene or some other kind of transition where you'll just see the shuttle flying down towards the surface, out of view. That's the transition that we'll use for loading the planetary surface in its entirety. Then you'll be put back in control of the shuttle again, so you can fly around and look for somewhere to land. But we need that transition between space and ground, because obviously we need to load the surface and we need to do all the procedural generation, place the rocks and the trees and everything. And then the whole thing works in reverse on the way back to the main ship. So you'll fly up to a certain altitude, and that will trigger the transition back into space. And you'll find yourself in space, if it's an atmospheric world, kind of just above the atmosphere, and then you'll have to manually fly back to the ship and dock. It's hard to put a flat percentage on it, Zambi. I would say, in terms of the interior layout and where we want things to be, I would say we're 90 to 95% done with just mapping out the floor plans. The exterior model, I would say, is around about 60%. There's still a lot of detail work that needs to be done, in addition to finishing the engines, building some of the more intricate details on the outside. So there's still a lot of external modeling work to do. And on the inside, I'd say we're about halfway done. Again, there's a mix of framework pieces, wall paneling, internal decor, and all the extra systems that need to be built. So obviously every piece of hardware is fully simulated, so we're going to have to build our engine simulation, build the RCS thrusters, and do the physics sim that goes with that. So there's still a lot of work to do to build the core systems that drive all of that. But obviously once those core systems are done, then they'll work the same for any vessel. So the way we're looking at this is that the Magellan class is the test bed where we're building all the core systems, and once they're all done and polished, then we can just churn out ships because we're just copy pasting those pieces of code. As seamless as possible, Jamo. I think I've experimented with loading the procedural terrains, and it's literally seconds. It's not. It doesn't take a long time to generate a few square kilometers, at least where the ship starts off before it goes off exploring. So I would say, I'd say a good middle ground would be if you imagine you're either sat in a shuttle or you're piloting the shuttle, and then when you hit that altitude where the transition occurs, the camera will suddenly switch to an outside view, static in space, and you'll just see the shuttle just disappear off away from the camera down towards the surface. And then we'll do a fade to black, and then when it fades back in again, you'll be back in control inside the shuttle. Hopefully that whole process will literally just take a couple of seconds. Literally the time it takes just to see the shuttle fly down towards the surface. I can't think of a smoother way of doing that. I mean, if they were all atmospheric worlds, then we would just kind of like throw clouds in your face to hide the transition. But obviously a lot of the planets won't have atmospheres, so you can't do that in that case. So it's probably cleaner as a fix-all solution just to have the shuttle just disappearing away from a static camera for a few seconds, and then you're back in control again. We want the... Obviously there's going to be a physical teleport at that point, so we want the distance teleported to be as small as possible. To use Starfield as an example, when you leave a planetary surface in Starfield, when you appear in space, you're like miles away from the planet. The planet's like several thousand kilometers away. We don't want to do that. We want, when you transition from what would be skimming the upper atmosphere, you'll be maybe 10-15 kilometers away from where you were when the teleport began. So you're really, you're not losing much space in terms of losing control of the vessel. And again, the same in the opposite way around. So you'll fly up manually to the transition point, and then you'll be teleported a few kilometers above the atmosphere, and then you'll be back in control. So at no point are you going to be teleported miles away from the planet. Yeah, see, the other benefit of drawing that hard line between the space environment and the surface environment is because we have essentially a static terrain, no different than any other Unreal Engine terrain. It means we've got all of Unreal Engine's surface tools to play with. So if you think about the procedural generation tools, nanite terrain, the sky atmosphere system, proper volumetric clouds and all the day-night stuff. Unreal Engine does surface environments really, really well, and by having a static surface environment, we get to use all of those tools to build our surfaces, which means we can have truly photorealistic surface environments without having to compromise on the space side of things. So by having that transition, it means we get the best of both worlds. We just lose that immersion of having the full real-time landing to the surface. But again, with the way we manage space, that's just not possible. I hope to start working on surface environments maybe in patch 227. So obviously 225 is what we're working on now. 226 will be essentially a bridge overhaul, some bridge NPCs, and the ability to command NPCs on the bridge. 227 would be good to start looking at surface environments. Initially, we'll handle it by way of teleport, so we'll probably have it so that if you go down to the shuttle bay and click on the shuttle, then it will teleport you to the surface. Because that will allow us to start building surface terrain without having to build the shuttle flight system first. So it means we can get in there, start building surfaces and get a feel for what that's going to be like, and then actually implement shuttles later down the line. So yeah, it'd be good to get started with that as soon as possible. Will there be inertia dampeners? Yes. It's part of the artificial gravity. Yes, Anasi. So when you leave the main ship on a shuttle, the ship you see in space is going to be a proxy for your actual ship. Similarly, when you're on the actual ship, if another player is flying around in a shuttle, what you're seeing is a proxy of that shuttle, because the shuttle interior will be static. So every vessel in the game, including the shuttles, will be a static environment. And what we'll do is we'll be teleporting the player seamlessly to those environments, and as you transition into things. So like when you walk into the back of a shuttle in the shuttle bay, you're actually going through a portal into a static environment, and then what a player in the shuttle bay sees fly out of the door will be a proxy for the actual static environment that you are in inside the shuttle. And then what you see out of the window is not the real ship, it's a proxy for the real ship, and that'll be the same for other ships, space stations, and any other environment. Because we want complex, detailed environments with lots of assets, lots of simulated hardware, and just lots and lots of detail, we can't have those things flying around using physics. There's just too much stuff to move around. So all of those environments need to be static environments, which is why we do all the smoke and mirrors of moving space around the ship. Planets won't be spherical, they'll be flat. And we might end up using spherical worlds, but the shader system that actually builds the terrain only handles that as flat terrain. So it uses clip maps on the GPU to draw the terrain, which is fast and performant, but flat. So what it will be is that as you reach the edge of the map, it'll teleport you seamlessly to the other edge of the map. So you can walk around and around the planet. It's teleporting you when you reach that seam. I'm not sure how we're going to handle that at the polar caps, because obviously that's going to get complicated, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Potentially an ASCII, although probably both at once. We'll have to see. The way we are kind of judging what to put in the next update is basically based on player feedback and based on what we feel the game needs at that point. So, like, the reason we're doing bridge gameplay in the next update is because the bridge is feeling a little bit dead, and I think at this point in development we could do with having a bit more to do on the bridge, with some actual NPCs to order around, so that you can sit in the captain's chair and actually have some stuff, certainly if you're playing in single player. And I think we're at that point in development where that's needed. But at the same time, we get a lot of questions about planetary surfaces and how we're going to do planetary landings. So, I think, again, once we've got the bridge gameplay done a little bit more, then we'll do a demonstrator for what those planetary surfaces will be like. Again, we're not going to build the shuttle system yet, we're just going to have a teleport, but again, it just gives us a chance to demonstrate, this is what planetary surfaces are going to look like, this is how it's going to feel, and it's just another step along the iterative process of building out the game. Not yet, Dave, no. Just focusing on getting the stuff done that we've been doing lately. So finishing off the sensors, which are practically done now. Just tweaking the Galaxy Gen stuff, which we're down to just tweaks at this point. And then just fleshing out the modeling. I think there's very little to do now to get the update out. It's just polishing the edges. Yeah, we are painfully behind getting this demo update out. We wanted it out before Christmas, and it's now almost the end of January, so it's just a long old slow drag to get it done. Oh, there's plenty of incentive. there's 101 reasons to get things done quickly. I mean, it's a case of, you know, one, I want to see it done, and two, you know, there's a commitment there. No, we're not. I mean, it's absolutely the case that it's taking longer than I wanted it to, but that's just the nature of the beast. All I can do is keep working on it every single day until it is done. Yeah, it's why I do these streams. I mean, it's you know, this is very much a shared experience as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, on that note, first, is actually we need to sit down at some point and have a really good think about what gameplay elements we want to implement in what order. Obviously, we've done a lot of work on the galaxy and the sensors over the past few months, and with alien civilizations now existing within the galaxy, it would be nice to flesh some of that out and start working on physical samples. So like Anasi says, you know, having sample return probes is probably something we want to get done quite quickly. Oh, I hope not, Firstus. That bit's done, that bit's done, that bit's done. I'm going to do some of that today, Elliot, hopefully. Where are we at? So it's only 9:30 here, so hopefully I'll get into that before I go off stream. Just want to get this lift shaft sorted so we don't have all these bits sticking out anymore. I've been working on the dialogue for that, and I have a bit of a decision to make with it, because I think it would be good to rename the buttons, so rather than saying long, medium and short range, they actually say the name of the sensor array. One of the bits of feedback we've had sort of generally across the board is that it's a little bit confusing as to what the 3 different sensor modes actually are for. So in the new tutorial text, I've tried to kind of elaborate on that a little bit and sort of underline the reason for those modes existing. Sort of making it clear that you're dealing with different sensor modes, the different physical bits of hardware. So if the buttons reflected the actual hardware, then that makes a little bit more sense. So you're actually no, the actual name of the array, hold on one moment. Yeah, so one of the things I was writing was this. So basically, I wanted to go more into the lore behind the actual hardware itself, like a little bit how the hardware works, and what the hardware is used for. So if the actual buttons are called these array titles, then what you're doing in terms of the UI is you are actually selecting the piece of hardware rather than an arbitrary sensor mode. So rather than saying, I want long range, I want medium range, you're selecting, I want the HIDS array, I want the LGAS array. So it's a more hardware focused approach to how you actually use the sensors. And I found it easier to write the tutorial text with that in mind. Of course, yeah. So I think the emergency lighting thing is just a tick box, so that should be really quick to fix. But yeah, so have a pause of that and read that if you would like. There's actually a technical limitation to that, Daniel Jackson. The original idea of making it 150 light years was to give us the full extent of where we draw like O and B class stars from, but it was way too much of an overhead on the CPU, just too much data basically. So we had to dial that back to 50 light years. It was causing huge amounts of hitching as you traveled from light year to light year, because obviously every time you travel 1 light year, it has to reorder the list of stars by distance to the ship, and that was just proving to be far too heavy. So hence the 50 light year cap. I think I raised the button. I'll have a look. Stuck in the ceiling. Oh, I see, it's a piece of that. I wonder what was sticking through the middle of the lift shaft there. Right, let's get some of them imported. Oh, that's coming, Jamo. I do actually have a tap and everything all ready to go. The builder just needs to come and drill through the side of the wall to plumb it all in. Did I not export that one? Good question, Anasi. I see no reason why not. If anywhere, that would probably be down on like H or I deck underneath engineering. So we're moving the gas collection hardware down into the neck. So it would be somewhere around there. Looks like that mesh is too short. That's weird, it lines up there. Why is it not lining up here? Is it that piece that's wrong, I wonder? Yeah, it was that piece. Okay, that's definitely looking a lot smoother. Yeah, well, if you look at like a quick disconnect on a rocket, quick disconnect. Yeah, so here's a picture of the one for Starship. So oh, clever Reddit. Won't let me grab the image. But why would it do that? But you can see some of the labels on here. So, you know, basically you've got obviously the attachment balls there which lock it into place, and they get all the different commodities that all get pumped into Starship. So, you know, it would be something along these lines, some, you know, big connection point where all the different consumables can flow through. Yep, that is still the case. Yeah, definitely thrusters. Nothing worse than having to embarrassingly stretch the fuel cable over the back of the ship. No worries, Daniel. Have a good one. Welcome back, Scotty. Hey, yeah, definitely. Oh, no, that's not the right one. That's more like it. I specifically kept my mouth shut, CSI. Hopefully, Leo, yes. Just got to fix that that error with shader compilation. As soon as that's fixed, I can put a build out, which will have all of this stuff in it. it'll be interesting, except to have multiple screens. So I don't know which screen I'm looking at. Maybe a minor update to NASI, but one of the things that we're determined to do this year is to keep the updates small. So we don't want to make really, really big patches, because one of the issues we had, obviously throughout really the bulk of 2024, is that we were working on massive updates, and multiple massive updates in a single patch. So, you know, not only did we rip apart the sensors, we also decided to rip apart the ship and the galaxy all at once. So, you know, there was some major work going on just across the board, which wasn't great. So, yeah, we definitely don't want to do that again. That's better. A nice smooth shaft. Let's have a go on it. Yeah. I can just imagine like the whole galaxy like ceded to Saj 8. That would be mad. Yay, no more awkward penetration. Stop looking at me like that.
Saying nothing. Just can't tell if you're doing it on purpose or not. Exactly, Ian. He's wearing the wrong t-shirt.
I am. I'm not wearing my "That's What She Said" t-shirt today. Anyway, it's fixed. Hurrah. So the other thing we need to do with the lift, actually, while we're doing the lift, is we need to fix those doors. Now our actual door code does a lot of work to stop the doors closing on players. Can't seem to find any. There's one hiding in the wall. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on to make the doors really, really robust. And essentially we need this same level of robustness for the lift doors as well. You guys were testing the lift in multiplayer, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
How was it?
How was it?
Well, how was it in multiplayer? How broken was it?
Well, nobody could get into it unless I opened the doors.
Yeah.
And then, to be honest, I don't even think we tried going up and down.
Oh, that bad.
I was too busy locking them in.
How broken is it? Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it's very broken.
All right. Okay.
Well, no, because the guests can't touch any of the buttons or anything inside.
Yeah.
So unless the host is in there doing everything with them,
Yeah.
nothing works. But I don't know if they come down with the lift or anything.
Right. Okay.
We'll have to do that on this week's multiplayer test.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
Did we? I don't recall. I just remember everybody getting stuck in there and looking at me through the glass.
Okay, so we need to do a lot of copy and paste from this.
Yeah, roly-poly got ejected at the top a lot. Because if you ragdoll inside of it, you shoot up through the top.
Why would you do that though?
Bye, Ian.
See you, Ian. Have a good one. Yeah, so none of the door code is even hooked up for multiplayer, so that's probably why. Okay, we're doing a couple of rep notifies, so it's at least partially replicated. Oh yeah. Oh, I see. Right, so yeah, so the button press is not going to player controller for replication. So that's one thing that's not happening. So actually no, I'm in game state, do we? Do we even have that interface on here? No, we don't. So adding that basically replicates this button press. So it turns the client button press from a widget, which inherently does not replicate, into a server authoritative button press, which allows us to then set rep notify variables with authority on the server. So that solves that. Obviously, we don't want to replicate that because it's server side only. Let's have a look at our left tick. Have a good one, Sluggish. Thanks for joining. So, yeah, tea leaf. So we're setting our destination deck on a rep notify, so that is replicating. Yeah, then all we're doing is just displaying some information on the widget. So all of this is happening server side, or at least it should be. Yes, so we are checking to see whether we have authority. So only the server is running that. In fact, we don't even want it to load on the client, which is not, so that's fine. So we haven't implemented any of the power code on this. So the lift is going to need power hooked up, which we can steal the door code for that. So it needs to connect to a cable. What's that for? That's just the widget optimization. Yep, that's optimization. Just a close timer. That's just for the button press. There's a whole bunch of stuff there which we don't need on the lift. We do have some trigger boxes there which we can't see for some reason. Exactly, all the jiggly watts. So normally when we go to close the door, we're checking for overlaps of various different things. So basically either the StarSim character itself, i.e. the player, or a pawn, so any of the NPCs. So unless those report false, it should not close the door. So basically that needs to be implemented on the lift doors, which will prevent them from closing on the player. So all the issues we have right now, where the player kind of gets stuck in the middle of the two doors here, that will fix that problem. Okay, I will do that off stream because it's just going to be a lot of copy paste and kind of remembering how things went. So I'll add that to my to-do list. And this all needs commenting properly as well. It's kind of looks like a prototype blueprint because it was. But what we will do is we will go and sort out these outer areas on F deck, which are a death trap right now. So basically here, if you step off this edge, then that's actually just a two-sided material, and the underside has no collision, so you just fall through it and get lost. So that all needs hooking back up properly. That looks like the template underneath. Why is that there? Yeah, this is it. This is the moment for us. We're going to fix it. So the question is, how far forward do we bring this framework? Obviously we've got so that doesn't need to be there now, so that can actually go. So we don't need that light, we don't need that, don't need them. So this is where the old saucer used to extend to. Obviously that's no longer relevant. Yeah, it does actually have collisions enabled. The issue is because it's just a single skin material. It doesn't collide on the back face. Not sure why it doesn't collide on the back face, but back face collisions are dodgy, and you just kind of fall through it. Probably going to be a cable there somewhere that starts complaining now, isn't there? Because I've removed it. Although this one doesn't seem to have an input cable, so perhaps we're all right. So the other thing we need to build here is we need to build the path over this gap, because obviously this is the way into the ring pylons. So the idea here, in order to get to the main engines, you'll need to, from the maintenance tunnels, come across a passageway that goes to here, and then come through the gap in and up. In this instance, this takes you to the front RCS. Yeah, that shouldn't be there. So that will be blocked off. And then the other way, again, goes up into the RCS rooms, Oh, this is the front. Got myself facing the wrong way. Yeah, so this pathway here leads to the main engines. So you go past the RCS, which is, so that won't be there. That will be just hardware like engines and things. These will be fuel tanks. This is actually a double height section, so that floor won't be there. And then all the way at the back here, it'll take you out down into the main engines. So you'll come down the pylon support here into what would be the engine cell there. So it'll go up through there like that. So that's the path you'll take to actually get inside the engines. Quite the winding passage. So what we need is to make sure we've got the right number of segments across the back here. Assuming we don't. It's been a long time since I played Duke Nukem. Right, so those segments there should be correctly scaled. Where is our template gone? So we need to basically scale this to the template scale, and then that door needs to move over probably to there, or maybe between the two. Yeah, between the two, I think. The interior wall as is for the battery room. Right then, so basically that means we need to take these. Lined up to there. Yes, Anasi. So you'll notice that the front of the ship here gets quite thin and just basically just tapers into the hull, whereas the back of the ship stays fairly deep all the way to the back of the shuttle bay, and this is essentially all the cargo holds in the back there, and where it comes up the back into the shuttle bay, that's where the main cargo lift will be. So the cargo lift will be about here, so that will be where the cargo lift is, and this is actually 2 decks tall. It's actually a lot bigger than it looks. So that's F deck there, and that's G deck underneath. So you'll have corridor access all the way through. Double doors here, and a corridor running all the way along the length with the cargo holds either side. Or maybe I might split that so the corridor goes either side with all the cargo hold in the middle. Like a big warehouse, essentially. But I need to think about access control into engineering, because what we don't want is, from a security perspective, intruders using the cargo lift to get into engineering the back way. Sort of, bypassing the security desk there. But I'll have a think about that once I start building the cargo holds. But yeah, that's exactly where they'll be. Yeah, for sure, Haokun. It's not cheap. And had I had the time to actually sit down and learn Blender properly, I would have done so to save the cost. But time scales being as they are, I just don't have the time, so I am forced to continue to use SketchUp. Although it's quick and it's efficient, so it's not the end of the world. Just going to save this a minute, because doing a copy rotate on objects has been causing a crash quite consistently, so it's always good to save it before trying. So basically we're copying it from there to there. Then we want to do that on many times. And it didn't crash, so that's good. Right, so that's the new scaling of everything in terms of the template. So obviously these ones at the back also need moving as well. Yeah, you're right there, Anassi. Yeah, we were using SketchUp on stage 9 to do the Enterprise D, and obviously I used SketchUp to do the Enterprise refit as well. Funny enough, I did it the other way around. So I started off in Minecraft, and then I got frustrated by just the lack of detail. So having that 1 meter cube kind of resolution was frustratingly small. So I went from Minecraft into SketchUp to give it that extra detail. When I first did this area here, I was never really very happy with it because obviously you've got the doors there to the maintenance tunnel, but because they're like on the corridor like that, and because there's doors at the end as well, it was very cramped. Too many doors too close together. So it would be much nicer to move that there instead, just to give this end of the corridor a bit more breathing room. And it also puts the maintenance tunnel doors into an alcove, which feels better as well, just generally. If I join them together like that, then we know where the middle is. Yeah, I forgot they were straight. I joined to the wrong line. I'm trying to get that to line up properly with the template, so just grab the midpoint on either side, do that. That should be it lined up. And obviously we want that bit to be in the middle. Right, that's more like it. Right, and then basically I just have a small corridor piece here, which means that gets to a proper door frame, and that gets a proper corner piece there, and it really kind of opens that area up a little bit. The only problem with that is right now one of the aggregators is there, so I'll just move it to there instead. Will mean moving some wires around, but I can't really avoid that, to be honest. Okay, that's better. Yeah, a lot of the organic stuff will be done in Blender. SketchUp's really where all the Archviz work gets done. Yeah, basically, Retia Callum. So our plans for stage 9 were pretty much what we're doing with this. Although I guess if you look at the Orville game, the Orville game is kind of a continuation of stage 9. Same people, same idea. So everything you see in the Orville is basically what we have planned for stage 9. What I'm doing with this is obviously different in the sense that we never planned to do a full simulation of the ship systems or a simulated galaxy or anything like that. We never planned any of that for stage 9. Stage 9 was more of a set exploration, exploring the ship, lots of callbacks to the show and that sort of thing. So we need to draw some cut lines on here as well. Obviously we need to convert some of these sections into framework blocks. The join line goes down the middle there, so the weld line for the two pieces goes down the center of the corridors. So probably about there'd be a cut line. I imagine I might have drawn that already on the template. Yeah, so that would be there, there, and there. Okay. Oh, of course, it's in multiple pieces. So that's where we'll be cutting out all the different sections to to make the framework, which means that that is all one piece there. So we kind of need to cut through there as well. Some of these bits here, where I've just kind of roughed them in, they're quite low poly, so I need to redo some of these bits just to smooth them off, but I'll leave that till after the demo. A few separate elements there just to make it awkward. Connect all that up together so they're in the same line. That's weird otherwise. Just tidying all this geometry up a little bit. again, when I do this area properly, this will be a lot smoother and a lot higher poly. But for now, it just needs to seal a hole. Like that bit will be gotten rid of. So that, oh, I've smoothed over the edges, typical. Again, this geometry is going to need cleaning up because we've done a cut through what is essentially triangulated faces, and that just creates nastiness. So if we take that as a group, and same thing here. Make that into a group. One solid piece now. So that's basically our framework section. In fact, it's going to be two framework sections. So we've got the bit that's cut down the middle, and then the piece that goes around here. Of course, we've also got G deck underneath as well. So we're going to need another cut along here somewhere, and then another version of that over here. That one should be a bit easier, it's smoother. Right, if we take our template a minute. Explode all of that, regroup it again. Right, then we can isolate that line. That's what we want. And then we can extrude that up. Extrude by vector that way. Nope. And yep. Alright, then we're going to cut that through there. Again, gonna need some cleaning up here. Yeah, that's way too sharp of an edge there as well. That needs smoothing off. Not directly, Dustin, but you can create some non-Euclidean effects using portals. Let's just work out where that horizontal cut needs to go for the deck height. Right, so that's the deck height there. So that's obviously the underside of the floor, I believe. All the floor tiles. Yeah, because they'd be higher than that. So we need two cuts because you obviously got the full height of the floor. That should be over 50 centimeters of clearance. Yeah, down to the meter there. So that should be equal to the top of that. 10 centimeters is above. Alright, so it's 10 centimeters below, which is should be the sheet metal height, I believe. Just need to make sure I get all these bits lined up properly, otherwise we have a headache later. definitely, because if you get all the cut lines in the wrong place, then when you come to work on the next bit of deck below, things all of a sudden don't line up, and it's an absolute nightmare. So basically that's the height of the sheet metal which forms the floor of the deck above. So that would be G deck sheet metal. So that has a thickness of, I think, 12.5 centimeters, because you've got 10 centimeter cavity for the floor panels, plus your 2.5 for the metal thickness, which is basically your inch. So yeah, so that's 12.5 there. Oh, autosave. This bit, 77.5. So that's the G deck top area. And then it should be 250 or thereabouts. 260. Okay, yeah, because you've got the extra 10 centimeter gap. So 260 from the floor to the top. Okay, so that would be the floor of G deck. And then you've got a 40 centimeter cavity to the floor. Okay, that works. So then if we go 260, 7.5, and then 12.5. Then the cargo holds basically take up that space there. Is that 10 there as well? Yeah, okay. So that's basically the cargo hold height. We'll probably have the some kind of mid support on there as well. Right, so it means that this needs cutting there and there. Controller support is something we're eyeing in for the next update. I have done a bit of experimenting with it for this update, but it's going to require a little bit more wrangling. Yeah, okay, so because of the geometry here, we've got this horrid wiggly line. So obviously this is a smoothed face, and then you've got a flat cut going through that smooth face. So obviously you can only cut where the geometry allows. So you end up with this jaggedy edge. So that's going to need smoothing off. It's not so bad across there because it's much more of a severe angle. So our framework wall then needs to go from there to there. I suppose the question here is whether or not we're taking a corridor straight down the middle, or whether we're going around the outside. I suppose the question there is, are we having one or more big cargo holds? Or are we having a selection of storage rooms either side of a central corridor? I mean, practicality-wise, having multiple rooms sort of works better, but then I'm just thinking that because the lift's going to be central. Yeah, it does that sometimes. The audio on the lo-fi is not always equal. Yeah, flowing curves is something we lacked for quite a while, but we should be able to really start bringing in some flowing shapes now. Obviously, the engine pylons at the back are not going to look like that. They will cut into the curve of the hull. so if we went with a solid corridor, we'd end up with, to be honest, not a small cargo hold either side. So we could actually have, so we had 6 there, so we'd have 12 small cargo holds, each with their own door, and maybe dedicated to different types of materials. Yeah, well, the other idea was to make the central corridor wider, to allow easier access and movement of cargo. And then you've got the cargo hold, which then goes down 3 decks. So you've got obviously the flight deck up here, and then the 2 separate decks for the 2 levels of cargo holds. That's if we have them as single deck tall cargo holds rather than double deck. We'll have to see what it looks like in terms of storage space. I mean, having them 2 decks tall looks cooler, but it's not particularly practical, because obviously if you've got something like way up high on the ceiling, it's difficult to get at. Let's grab a copy of this template a minute, and then we can bring up the wall pieces as well. Okay, just making sure they're untagged, and we can get rid of that, and we can get rid of that. So the beauty of having these templates, of course, is that we can just extrude walls really easily now, exactly where we need them to be. Do I have a favourite part of the ship? I know what my favourite part will be. So right at the front here, once we do the park area, I think that's absolutely going to be my favourite part of the ship. But I think right now it's probably the A-deck corridor, because I like the fact that I have all the continents of the world built into the woodwork. Yeah, exactly, the bit that's almost finished. just realised actually, of course I extruded those walls up, but I didn't actually make these unique, which means I would have put walls all over my template, which we don't want. Before I cut that, I'm going to just extrude that into a thicker piece. Okay. Have a good one, CSI. Sleep well. guess the question here really is where do we draw the line for where the edge of the wall goes? Do I say that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That time you got mad at me because I missed something. I say, oh no, I missed that part. No, if you wouldn't tab out.
True that.
So I'm gonna sit here, eat my yogurt, and watch you and get paint.
Do a quick save of this actually before I do my often crashy activity. all this won't be void. So I'm basically just working out where the supports would go if we weren't putting a cargo hold there. So what we don't want is any little pokey corners. So we're probably... So I was tempted to draw the line across there, which means that this would be void space, but all of that would be cargo hold. So we'd have then staggered cargo holds as the curve of the deck goes in. So the alternative to that is we go back to the idea of not having a central corridor, and instead having a corridor which goes around the outside, which is not impossible. Something they did on the Orville is have a corridor going through the cargo hold, like a little bridge across the top, which looks really, really cool, but I'm not going to steal that. We could have maybe windows down the sides. But... Of course, that is another option actually. Having the corridor down the outside does mean we can put windows on the outside hull, which could be good. Windows are always good. See, if I did make the cargo hold double deck height, the upper level could just be gantries with storage containers. Our height there, so we had pretty easy if I turn on the GDEC template. Right, so that goes down to there. Yeah, that's definitely doable. They don't, it doesn't all have to be double decked. I'm just going to have a quick look at how much space there is back here. So obviously it tapers to a point the further back you go. So if we measure that a sec, let's measure it in the right direction. Yeah, so because of the slope of the outer hull, you would be losing space back there. Although it doesn't need to taper quite that much at the back. Obviously it's mirroring the taperage at the front, but I can always straighten that out so it doesn't come in quite so much. But I will do. I'll straighten that out. So whilst the front is tapering more to a point, the back can just flatten out, and that keeps the cargo holds rectangular. Where is the shuttle bay? Yeah, there. Yeah, so if the extent of the shuttle bay is about there, then the lift will go down about there. Which means there is a bit of space behind it as well, depending on where we put the lift. Okay. Yeah, it'll be the only place on the ship, to be honest, that we have downward facing windows, which could look quite nice. Okay, I shall give that some thought. What's going on there? Oh, I see. Doesn't quite line up. Okay, well, for now then, if I just grab these. They need to go on this level, along with them. So as far as the maintenance tunnel is concerned, we'll have our usual insulation cutouts on there, and on this side you'll be able to see through to the outer hull. Yeah, then we'll probably try and keep the structure consistent across there, maybe. I don't want to end up with a weird shaped room though. Yeah, maybe we could just draw across there and just basically rectangular that off. Yeah, you're not wrong, Hendrik. I think And once we start building that area out, it'll become apparent whether or not windows are appropriate or not. Because if it's sort of a dirty, grimy workspace, then windows really wouldn't fit very well. Like right now, there are no windows anywhere on engineering. I do want to change that, specifically around these parts. Where we have the access through to the ring pylons, I want some kind of observation windows just underneath here, so that the engineers can see the underside of the engines and can see the underside of the ring, just so there's that sort of engineering visibility of what's going on the outside. It doesn't help that the outer edge of each of the engineering decks is kind of terminated with a maintenance tunnel, so it's not really general crew access, which makes it difficult to fit windows in. So if we maybe remove those. That's not a terrible shape for a room. Yeah, but they could also be real windows as well. I mean, I like the idea of analog backups. So, if the ship's without power or something else is going on, having an actual real window can be really useful. Must be some weird gap in the geometry here somewhere. This is SketchUp. Okay, yeah, so we'd end up with something kind of like that. And you've got the support cavity on this side. So I would chop these back and just have that follow the curve around. In fact, I'll do that now. Obviously, with with the ship, we don't want to waste space if we can avoid it. So we want as few kind of empty cavities as possible, really. So that piece needs to be a part of that group. Stop that piece. So that becomes the framework section. It's a bit of an awkward shape, but that's kind of the shape of the ship there, so unavoidable really. actual extent of the edge there. Okay, so the next thing we need to do really is to redo this platform in its proper location. Assuming that is properly lined up, that could be useful. Yeah, I will be soon. Should I work out why this is not rotating? That's what I get. Thanks to our pre-extruded lines, pre-measured lines rather, we can actually use that for drawing all these individual pieces. So we can pop that in there and then just do that. works with them lines there. Do. We stick that over there like that. And move those onto there. So we need to get the faces lined up properly. Let's get rid of those markers. Actually, I thought a better way of doing that. We explode this instead. And just a little edge on there. And the same on this side. Interesting. Why is that lower down? Right, by having a little straight edge at the beginning of the curve, it makes these segments join up perfectly when they join together. Otherwise, you end up with a gap because it's on a curve. So that should now be perfectly lined up there. And then if I were to make that into a component in a minute. Right, so if we copy that to there, they should line up perfectly. That's not perfectly. Okay, so this line must not be straight. says it's straight. That's weird. Why is that going on a curve then? Okay, so there's our line. It's definitely straight. Okay, and that's definitely straight. What's going on? Okay, so that's not perfectly on the edge, so that doesn't help. Are you lined up with that? Yes, you are. Are you lined up with that? Yes, you are. Okay. Tis. It's been another, well, almost a 4-hour stream actually tonight, if you count the internet going down earlier. Right, so we definitely want that to be that height. These guys to be the same height as this. Okay, so I think we've lost some height somewhere. So you need to be there. So they should all be the same height. Right, so given their correct relative heights, let's go ahead and line them up on there a minute. And then just make sure that that is in fact rotated correctly. Should be exactly where it should be now. Alright, then we want maybe a slightly longer straight bit. Actually, how long is it from there to the edge? Because that will give us our measurements. Alright, yeah, let's do that. So we want 11.25 there. And 11.25 there. Right, so that should be perfectly lined up. Just copy it in a circle a minute, just to make sure. Right, we should be able to do it from any of these, like that. And then they should be lined up. Huh, weird. So is that at a different angle to that? It is. That's really weird. Ah. Okay, so some weird stuff's happening here. So even though... Oh no, that is showing us being on an angle. Huh? So from there to there is not showing... It's showing 0 distance on the vertical, which means that's perfectly flat. And yet from there to there, there to there is also showing perfectly flat. And yet, if you measure that same thing within the group, it's showing an angle, which must mean that I guess the axes must be off in this group. That's the only thing I can think of. Yeah, they are. Actually, if we line that up with that, we also line that up. Actually, let's check each end of that as well. Yeah, so that's perfectly flat. Oh, why is it all the way over there? Definite weird stuffness going on there. Right, last attempt. If this doesn't go smooth, then I shall have to go and have a think about what's going on with it. So, is that the same vertical height as that? Yes, it is. And what about that? Yes, it is. And that? Yes, it is. Okay. So that's not quite on the end. Make sure it's there. Right, so it's at least flat on there this time around. Again. Right, there we go. That's what we wanted to see. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that the first time round. For some reason, just it was picking up some vertical twisting. But yeah, redoing it seems to have fixed it. I'll save that before I copy it any further. Still lined up, all good. So obviously this one needs to be cut into this edge here, so they line up there with the door frame, and that side needs to be trimmed to match the end of the segment, but the rest of them can stay as is. Right, okay, so I shall call it there. My eyes are stinging and my bum is sore, but at least we got that done. One step closer to fixing the scary folly hole. Sorry, I've been ignoring chat. I'm glad Claire's here to answer all your questions, because I've been like engrossed in what I was doing. Thank you, Jamo. How many bugs? Not a huge amount, to be honest. I mean, the test that Claire did, I think we have you had 8 people in that game. Yeah, so a test with 8 people went really well, to be honest. There were no game-breaking bugs. It was just niggly little things. I've got a couple of things to fix on the lift just to make sure the doors don't slam on people. I hooked up the buttons to the networking, so that should work now. Sensors have a couple of little tweaks that need making, and I need to finish writing the tutorial. Other than that, I think we're pretty much there, really. So hopefully over the next week and a half or so we can get that done. Yeah, exactly, Arax. There's always going to be bugs. It's a question of where do we draw the line in terms of severity. You know, misaligned textures versus like doors that don't open. Right. Good night, everyone. I shall call it there, because as you can probably see, my eyes are starting to melt. I shall see you all on Sunday's stream, so have a great rest of the week. Bye for now.